Welcome everyone to Volunteering for Seniors virtual webinars for senior citizens and their caregivers. Good morning. It's happy to see everyone today on board. This is Pratima Penumarthi. I'm the CEO, founder, and president of Volunteering for Seniors, where our vision is to build a society where every senior in our community is empowered to live life to their fullest potential. And I know this is like, some who are new to this, who are new to our organization, just want to reiterate here that we are guided by our core values of compassion, service, volunteerism, good stewardship, and diversity. Because diversity is very important. We embrace people of all race, gender, and sexuality. And since the year 2021, we have been conducting VFS, which is virtual webinars, talk shows, conferences for senior citizens, and keynote presentations. Also, we have been doing a lot of general sessions that focuses on supporting health and self-care for seniors, and also the caregivers, the family caregivers of older adults and individuals who are with dementia or also without dementia across USA. I can also say across globe. Coming to the very important topic today, where we'll all be there, and we have Dr. Chandra here. Osteoporosis. Most of us know it's a worldwide epidemic, and you might even know, you got it. You might, I mean to say, not even know you got it until you actually fracture a bone. Osteoporosis is often called silent disease because people don't feel their bones weakening. From the research, what I was going through and finding out is that breaking a bone or the loss of height are often the very first signs of osteoporosis. In fact, 50% of women, and I believe like 25% of men might have or will have, osteoporotic fracture in their lifetime. Just in USA, osteoporosis is a growing health problem. 70% of adults and over 65 years with osteoporosis have never been screened, and they don't know why they have osteoporosis. Annually, there are over 2 million osteoporotic fractures across USA, and it's important, we'll have Dr. Chandra talk about more. It's important to know how to get screened, how to get it diagnosed, prevented, and get treated. So to give us more information, we have with us Dr. Chandra Lingisetty, who's the Chief Medical Officer at Eternal Health. And he's also an MD, MBA, MHCM, who is an experienced healthcare leader with extensive training and experience in healthcare. He served as the provider, leader, executive, and innovator at various major healthcare systems, and is working as a Chief Medical Officer presently at Eternal Health. So today we have Dr. Lingasetty, who will be discussing more about this osteoporosis with all of us, in a very interactive educational session. Welcome, Dr. Lingasetty.
Thank you, Pratima. Appreciate your introduction. That's very kind of you. First of all, thank you, VFS, everybody who is running VFS and behind VFS and supporting VFS in everything that the VFS is tasked to do going forward. Again, it's my privilege and opportunity today to be with you, talking to you this morning, online, offline, live stream or recorded, whatever way you guys are going to engage with this presentation. Please make sure you spread the word beyond this meeting and presentation, because it is a very important topic we're going to talk today. As Pratima was mentioning, osteoporosis is a silent disease. And again, I work as a Chief Medical Officer at Eternal Health, which is a Medicare Advantage health insurance company based in Massachusetts. It serves seniors and Medicare beneficiaries with extraordinary and innovative products in the insurance. So we probably will talk about why bone health matters, what is osteoporosis, how is it diagnosed, and how to prevent bone loss, like prevention of osteoporosis, how to prevent falls, and what are the treatments available to prevent what are the treatments available to treat osteoporosis. I have a little more conservative number here, conservative than what Pratima mentioned. Yeah, she's absolutely right. 70+% of people over 65 with osteoporosis have never been screened, and they don't know that they have osteoporosis. Does it does it worry you? Does it concern you? It surely does. It surely concerns me because as Pratima mentioned, the fractures, 2 million fractures a year. It's a lot of fractures, right? If you look at breast cancer, about 250,000, close to 250,000, heart attacks 735,000, strokes close to 800,000, but the fractures 2 million fractures. But do we have enough people talking about diagnosing and preventing these fractures? No. So that's exactly the reason why we're here today, to talk about it and spread the word, because this is very underrepresented, undermined problem that we are all dealing with going forward. So osteoporosis is not a simple issue that we can just brush it off and say, yeah, somebody told me that I have osteoporosis. It's a bone thing. My bones are weak, and I'm okay. I'm just going to sleep with it. No, absolutely not. It is a disease. Okay. So when the skeleton loses mineral density, the structure becomes thinner and weaker, and a weaker, thinner bones absolutely will be unable to bear the normal weight. Then what happens? They break easily. If you look at this image here, normal bone will have all these skeleton structure within the bone called trabecular system that is thicker and stronger. But when osteoporosis hits the bone, when osteoporosis affects a person, you see it here. All these trabeculae are thinner, less denser, and less stronger. Then what happens? So it's a no-brainer that this bone is ready to be fractured if there's any stress on this bone. So this is exactly the reason why we're here today, to talk about what is osteoporosis and how serious it is. So if you look at what happens in bone, there are bone cells called osteoblasts, the cells that are constantly laying the bone and repairing it. And there are bone cells called osteoclasts, the cells that are constantly resorbing the bone, meaning that they're removing parts of the bone. So again, osteoblasts are building, osteoclasts are removing the older damaged bone. Both are important. Both are essential to maintain the balance of new bone versus the old bone, because the old bone has to be resorbed, new bone has to be laid out. So the bone remodeling means everybody has an opportunity to have new bones every 7 to 10 years. So that's why good habits to build the bones or bad habits to contribute to the loss of the bone take a lot of time. It's not just an overnight process. It's not a 3 months process. It takes a lot of time. But the good news is that at least there is some activity in the bone that helps us to build it. So as I said, bone and skeleton is a living tissue, right? So again, going back to the previous slide here, if the activity of the osteoblast is better, then the loss of the bone is slower. If the osteoclastic activity, the destruction of the bone, is faster than the osteoblast, what's the outcome? You're going to lose bone quicker, right? So you look at women in particular here, the bone density is increasing all the way up to 30. That's where peak bone mass achieved in women. After 30, the bone density will reduce slowly because of bone building process is slowing, bone resolution process or bone resorption process is accelerating. So the bone density will reduce, and it will continue to reduce much faster and quicker once women hit menopause. So as you can see here, the more and more, the more and more mature the women are, the bone density is lower, and then the risk of fractures are high. That is purely because of protection women have until menopause, and after menopause the protection is removed. In few things they are, in terms of risk, they are equal to men. So there are reasons why people may have osteoporosis. We call them as what? Risk factors. There are some risk factors that we absolutely cannot change, right? Gender, we cannot change the gender. We got to live with what we are, who we are, right? Hereditary. If we have our immediate family members who have osteoporosis, the chances that we may have osteoporosis is higher, and there's nothing we can do about it. Age, as we just saw in the previous slide, the more mature we are, the faster the resorption of the bone is, the slower the building of the bone is. So that's why the more mature we are means as we are aging, our chances of osteoporosis will become high. Fracture history. If somebody has had a fracture in the past, especially with the fracture due to osteoporosis, their risk of acceleration of osteoporosis and fractures is high. Certain medical conditions and medications put people at risk of having osteoporosis. We'll talk about it in a second. There are some risk factors for osteoporosis that we can modify, we can change, right? This is exactly what really makes it exciting today to talk about it, because there are things that we can do to make it better. Calcium consumption, vitamin D intake, quitting smoking and vaping. So these are the things that are very important because we can change them. If the calcium is low, we will take more calcium. If the vitamin is low, we take more vitamin D. If somebody is smoking, obviously that puts them at a high risk of osteoporosis. So we advise them to quit smoking. Alcohol consumption, absolutely. Alcohol consumption is associated with increased risk for osteoporosis. Reduced physical activity, meaning sedentary life, definitely has a high risk of osteoporosis. Posture, right? So posture really affects our bone strength, our core body muscle strength, our core body bone strength. That's why it's important to learn about the posture. And body weight. Obesity tends to make people more vulnerable. Obesity tends to make people more at risk of osteoporosis. So loss of weight is associated with stronger bones and maybe less risk of osteoporosis. Some medications, if somebody is taking some medications without knowing that those medications may be contributing to osteoporosis, modifying them or changing them or switching them to alternatives maybe a remedy here. So intentionally, I'm sitting the way I'm sitting to just to see if somebody can point out, am I sitting right or wrong?
If you're straight, I mean, if you're sitting straight, then probably it's right.
But you see me that I'm not sitting straight.
Yeah, this is the problem. We can,
right.
Yeah, I mean, if
So
you're literally sitting straight, yeah.
I'm hunching forward, right? So
Yes.
I was sitting wrong. That's intentional. So 10 minutes into our talk, this is what we're going to do now. Everybody who's sitting in front of the computer, watching this presentation or listening to me today, do me a favor. Okay, wherever you're sitting in your chair, sit straight with your bottom shuffled all the way back to the back of your chair or bench, whatever it is, with your back straight, spine straight, both feet on the ground, flat on the ground. That's the posture how we're going to sit. You're not going to sit in any other posture. If you sit in any other posture, that is making your spine vulnerable and then less stronger. So that's your posture. We'll talk about it more. So we talked about conditions that can cause bone loss, right? Alcoholism, we talked about it. Alcoholism is associated with loss of bone quicker than otherwise. Certain cancers, cancer conditions are notorious to cause reduced calcium in the body, reduced bone density. Not just the cancers, treatment of the cancers is associated with the reduction of the bone mass, causing quicker bone loss. Celiac disease, Crohn's disease. So these are the diseases where people may be at high risk of losing the nutrients from the body or not absorbing the nutrients. So they may have a high risk of osteoporosis due to bone loss. Cushing's disease is a metabolic condition, hormonal disease. Sometimes maybe people at high risk of having low calcium because of Cushing disease. Diabetes type 2, disordered eating, hyperthyroidism, excessive thyroid hormone, if it is not treated, is associated with a quicker loss of bone. Hypogonadism, liver diseases are associated with, again, low calcium levels in the body for many medical reasons. Malabsorption, if somebody has a poor absorption of the nutrients from the gut, what happens is everything that we're taking in every day may not be absorbed appropriately. So they may have a high risk of high risk of osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis as well, associated with the low calcium as well. So again, this list is not meant to be exhaustive. This is not meant to be all inclusive. This is just few of several medical conditions that may contribute to the excessive bone loss causing osteoporosis. We talked about medications. This is something most of us are interested in, or at least many of us are interested in, is how maybe our loved ones, our people, people who are taking care of them, maybe taking some of these medications, a few of these medications, or at least one of them. So when you see these medications, just question yourself, or when you see this medication in the pill box of your loved one you're caring, question yourself to see, okay, can this medication cause or accelerate osteoporosis? Ask yourself a question. If the answer is, if you have an answer, maybe it's a good idea to check with the primary care provider or a physician to see, hey, my grandfather is taking, Prilosec every day for his acid reflux. Does he have high risk of osteoporosis? Do you think I should put him on calcium? What do you think? So again, anticoagulations, heparin, not really frequently given nowadays, but definitely whoever who is on heparin has a high risk of osteoporosis because of bone loss. People who are on anticonvulsants, people who are on the seizure medications like Dilantin, especially Dilantin, is associated with osteoporosis. And there are certain hormonal medications like aromatase inhibitors, androgen deprivation therapies, chemotherapy medications, and then anti-neoplastic medications and anti-rejection medications, cyclosporin, associated with excessive bone loss. Lithium, the medication that is given to mood disorders, mania, hypomania, and those kind of bipolar disorders, associated with quicker resorption of the bone, causing osteoporosis. Methotrexate, as you know, methotrexate is given to people who have rheumatological conditions, so associated with higher risk of bone resorption and maybe osteoporosis. SSRIs, one of the frequent medications given to depression, like Prozac and Zoloft and Paxil, may be associated with a high risk of osteoporosis as well. People who are taking prednisone on a long-term basis, because prednisone is a medication that is notorious to cause quicker resorption of the bone. So people who are taking long-term steroids, could be prednisone, could be dexamethasone or anything, is associated with higher chance of osteoporosis. Medications such as tamoxifen and thyroxine, obviously in the high doses. This is one thing very important that we note today, thyroxine. If somebody is on thyroid medication, meaning thyroid replacement, it's a good idea to check the thyroid levels, hormone levels in the body, the medication they're taking, and really make sure they're not overdosing themselves by taking medications without getting it checked time to time, because excessive amounts of thyroxine hormone in the body can cause quicker resorption of the bone, thereby causing osteoporosis. So very important that we keep a note of all these medications and just question ourselves sometimes, or maybe question on behalf of the people you are caring for, to see if any of these medications are causing osteoporosis or putting them at high risk of developing osteoporosis in the future. So we talked about maybe potential causes, risk factors of osteoporosis. Now let's talk about how do we diagnose osteoporosis? So just, there are some tests available like ultrasound scans, some other scans and whatnot, but this is a test that stood the test of times, right? The DEXA scan. Simple bone mineral density test, period. It's called DEXA scan, DXA scan. It's a covered benefit for people, women age 65 plus, men age 70 plus, anyone younger than those ages with a risk factor, or if the healthcare provider thinks that, okay, this person is at high risk of osteoporosis, I want to do a screening test. and that screening test is DEXA scan. Absolutely, no questions asked. All the insurance cover, Medicare Advantage, Medicare, we cover that. Medicare Advantage companies cover. So it's a covered benefit. Now, what's the test again? Just one simple test, DEXA scan. This is a very simple, painless, non-invasive test that takes about just 15 minutes, right? So this is how people screen. All right, somebody, okay, so somebody has high risk factors. Somebody's taking some of those medications. Doctor thinks that maybe that person is high risk of osteoporosis, is only 55, and he wants to order a DEXA scan. He had the DEXA scan done, and here are the results. So how do you interpret these results of the DEXA scan? So DEXA scan results are expressed in a score called T-score. Okay, T-score. So if the T-score is more than or equal to minus 1.0 or anything on this side of the scale, it is normal. Okay, so this T-score in any individual is compared to an average 30-year-old individual. So that's the reference point for the T-score. So a T-score of -1 towards the positive side, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3 is good news, normal. Anybody with a T-score of -1 to, what is it here, -2.5, it's a low bone density. There is one more name that is coming in to confuse you more, osteopenia. Okay, penia means lower. Osteoporosis is a disease already. Okay, so there is a phase between the normal and the osteoporosis. That phase is called osteopenia, meaning that the density of the bone is lower than normal, but not low enough to call osteoporosis. It's intermediary phase, right? So this is osteopenia. So -1 all the way to -2.5 is osteopenia. Anything less than -2.5 is osteoporosis, meaning the bone is so porous that it can lead to fractures. So a score of less than -2.5 is a bad news. Not necessarily bad news, but just for the sake of discussion here, it's almost a diagnosis of osteoporosis. So I want us to, I'm spending a minute or more on this because this is very important that we understand the value of interpreting these results, or maybe at least memorizing it. So if people who fall into this category of high risk for osteoporosis was ever told to get a DEXA scan done, be prepared to tell me your score at the end of this meeting. If not, on Monday, go ahead and schedule a DEXA scan and just get it done. Because again, as I said, osteoporosis is a serious disease for the good reasons we talked about. So even though people may have low bone density, people may not have an increased fracture risk. Okay, so meaning people may have low bone density here, osteopenia. They may go into osteoporosis phase if nothing is done about it, or they may come back to normal and be a normal, bone density and enjoy their life, full active life as ever, if they've done something really good. So that's why it is important that we understand the importance of the results. So if you want to look at the bone mineral density test, the DEXA scan, just for the education purposes, this is the bone density test of a human with a normal, essential normal spine. 68-year-old. I know the osteoporotic bone age is 74. There's a difference, but that's the material here for the sake of discussion. So you see here, the wider the bone is, the whiter the bone is, the better, normal. So it's a normal bone density. Here, the whiteness of the bone is replaced by the blackness here. It's called lucency, right? Radiolucent. So this radiolucency is indicating loss of bone density. So why the normal bone is much closer to whiter, like opaque, and the bone that is less in calcium is not that opaque and it is lucent, means translucent, like close to the blackness? Simple. The bone mineral density test is an X-ray, right? So when X-ray passes through our body, when X-ray passes through our body and then casts its image on the other side of the film, just like our regular picture, like in good olden days when there are film in the backing of the film, in the camera there is a film that is at the back, and then if it is exposed, it casts the image of the person that is falling on the film. So similarly, X-rays are capturing whatever the X-rays that is coming through the human body, and they're capturing. If part of the X-rays is stopped by thicker whatever that is there in between that has a lot of calcium, that leaves an opaque shadow, that's whiteness. If nothing is stopping the X-ray, it's going and passing through the body and then going through the film, it is just leaving it black. So what is stopping the X-rays from going through the body? Most of the times it's calcium in the bone. So that's why bones are looking whiter on the X-ray. So the less and less calcium, less and less thicker the bones are. If the bones are less thicker, they let the X-ray pass through. So that's why, the X-ray here, BMD test here is looking more lucent. Again, one more recap of T-score. We talked about it, right? Less than or equal to minus 2.5 is osteoporosis. Minus 2.5 to minus 1.0, low bone mass. Anything more than negative 1.0 towards the positive range is a normal T-score with a normal bone density.
Hi. You can't get your mail at the moment.
No, I'm not getting it. I'm just passing through.
1 second. Anjana, can you please put yourself on mute, please? Thank you.
So how do you prevent bone loss? How do we prevent bone loss? So these 4 important things we're going to talk about right now: calcium, vitamin D, physical activity, and preventing falls. Just remember these 4. Very important right now because we already figured out what causes osteoporosis. How do you diagnose it? And now, how do you treat and how do you prevent it? Right? How do you treat the cause? So just think about it. Preventing the bone loss with these 4 strategies: calcium, vitamin D, physical activity, fall prevention. All right. Calcium is the principal mineral of the bone. We just talked about it a lot, right? Today, I was just talking about the X-ray more, longer than any other topic, because I want you guys to understand. I want you guys to take home an important point of that. It's a calcium that makes the density of the bone. So calcium is an important mineral of the body. If the nerves and muscles are needing a lot of calcium, and that calcium is not present in the body, where does the where do nerves and muscles lend the calcium from? From bones. So I'll explain you in a second. Calcium is very important building block of bone, and at the same time, calcium is important for the functions of nerves and muscles. If you see the muscles have to function. Muscles have to contract and relax, contract and relax. Muscle contraction really needs calcium, and also nerve conduction. The transmission of the signals from brain to body through the nerves need calcium. When calcium is an essential element, an essential and a mineral that you need for nerves and muscles and bones to function, if we don't have enough calcium, body has to give their calcium to nerves and muscles because it has to make us move. So it will lend the calcium from the bones. So if you don't have enough calcium in the body, your bones are the banks of calcium. They're going to give the money out. And because nerves and muscles need it, bones are going to be kind and say, you know what, take this. I'm going to be weaker. I'm going to break one day. What the heck? But you need it now because, Chandra has to run right now. His nerves and muscles need calcium. Just give him the calcium. It's okay if he has a fracture in the future, but for now, take it. So if the body doesn't have enough calcium, the calcium is going to be taken out of the bones and given to nerves and muscles. So how much calcium we need a day? Current RDA, required daily allowance, is 1,000 to 1,000 milligrams per day. Okay, 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day is how much you need per day. There are 3 to 4 servings of calcium-rich food. Probably give you 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day. So 3 to 4 servings of calcium-rich food. What is calcium-rich food? So calcium-rich food, as indicated here, these are the most common dietary sources of calcium. Your dairy, low-fat yogurt, milk and cheese may have 150 to 400 milligrams of calcium. Proteins like tofu, sardines, and garbanzo beans and almonds may have 75 to 400 milligrams of calcium. This is like per serving, right? Vegetables, collards, bok choy, kale, broccoli, 20 to 260 milligrams of calcium. Other foods such as pizza, lasagna, mineral water, fortified mineral water, dried figs may have 120 to 450 milligrams of calcium. So this is the calcium range. Again, this list is not meant to be all-inclusive, not meant to be exhaustive. It is just a typical calcium-rich food and the representation of calcium content per serving. So how do you read a nutritional label? Okay, I read nutritional. I read labels and just sometimes just see what's the calorie range. How much is this can of soda is giving me, how many calories, and how many days I need to be fasting, drinking this or eating this, right? That's why I'm interested in looking at the label sometimes. But I want us to develop the habit of looking at the nutrition labels from today with a very special emphasis to calcium. So add a 0 to the percentage of calcium that is put it on the label, that becomes the milligrams. Say, for example, if one of your beans can that you're buying from your local grocery store says 20% calcium, just in your mind add a 0. That's 200 milligrams of calcium you're gonna get from that that day from the serving, right? So that's how you label it. If you are buying a can of sardines, it says 40%, means that you're getting 400 milligrams of calcium that day. But you need 3 more servings of that to make sure, not that, but the other diets to make sure you get a daily allowance of calcium. Very important slide, very important. Pay attention to this. So you are looking at the calcium content when you're buying things and preparing things in a day, because how much calcium do we need per day? Hold on to this thought here. 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams per day is how much you need. Right. If you need a supplement, just take it. Because if you don't eat 2 to 3 servings of calcium-rich food every day, you may need a supplement, right? It's a no-brainer. I mean, like, if you're not getting enough calcium in your diet because you may have, a person may have, dairy intolerance. They cannot take anything dairy, cheese, nothing, no thing. And people like me, vegetarians, may not have enough calcium through other sources, so just have to depend on vegetables and whatnot. That's not giving me enough calcium. What do I do? Simple, just take supplements. So just for the sake of discussion here, we can talk about 2 types of calcium supplements. Calcium citrate, easy, citracal that people call, easier on stomach, take with or without food. There is an alternative, less expensive, you can take it with food. Calcium carbonate, caltrate. So that's one other thing. And again, mind you that body can only absorb 500 to 600 milligrams of calcium at a time. Say, for example, in the breakfast, you didn't eat anything that is rich in calcium. In lunch, you didn't eat anything rich in calcium. In the evening, you think, you know what, Chandra said 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams of calcium is good enough. Tonight, I'm just gonna, gobble up all the calcium, rich food. That's gonna give me, no, it's not gonna work like that. Because at any given time, body doesn't absorb more than 500 to 600 milligrams at a time. So you need to divide that, between several meals a day and make sure. And then again, do not take more than 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day. Okay, these 4 days, these 5 days, I'm on this special diet. This special diet is gonna give me, it's gonna help me, lose weight and all that, but it has no calcium. After the 4 days on the weekend, I'm gonna gobble up all the, calcium-rich content. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. You probably will be deficient in the calcium. So very important that you balance it. Well, who is a sidekick for calcium?
Vitamin D. No?
Yep. Vitamin D is its sidekick. It cannot go without it. Like in Sholay movie, both of them, right? Dharmendra and Amitabh Bachchan, they cannot travel without each other. So vitamin D is important. Calcium needs vitamin D to get absorbed in the intestine because they just cannot live without each other. So vitamin D is important too. People may think, oh yeah, vitamin D, sunny day, lots of sun. Let me just go and take a water and get all that vitamin D. No, so sunshine is not alone is not at all a reliable source of vitamin D. So required daily allowance of vitamin D is 600 to 2,000 international units per day. Is a big range there, but that is dependent on the individual individual the age and gender and many things, but that is the minimum, that's the maximum. So fatty fish, as you can see here, a lot of dairy and fat and proteins and kind of animal and non-animal proteins have vitamin D. Salmons and sardines rich in vitamin D, 150 to 500 international units. Okay, calcium is measured in milligrams. Vitamin D is in international units, IU. Okay, look out for that. Dairy is rich in vitamin D as well. Milk fortified with vitamin D. Just look for milk with vitamin D fortification or fortified with vitamin D. That is important. Fortification meaning just adding an additional thing of post production, like post sourcing. So other foods that are rich in vitamin D are fortified cereals, juices, proteins, yolk have fortified. So most of the times, it's very hard to get enough vitamin D through diet, especially with people who are mature, not really consuming lots and lots of variety of foods every day, because their activity may be less than what it was when they're younger. Maybe they don't get enough vitamin D. So when we're talking about seniors and their dietary intake, it's evident that they don't get enough vitamin D through diet. So what's the answer? Supplements. So, and the supplements are not that expensive. So that's a good news. Right. So we talked about two important minerals and two important nutritional elements, vitamin D and calcium. We talked about it. Now, the second, this is the third point of what to do to prevent it and how to treat it, right? The third point is bone health. How do you build bone and bone health? And the fourth point is fall prevention. So the third point we're talking today is bones and bone health. Bones really like load. Okay, so to build bone density, you must do activities that surprise the bone and add weight to the bone. So activities that strengthen the muscles, strengthen the bone. Simple. Whatever that you're doing to strengthen the muscle is adding weight to the bone as well. They're good for you. So the reason why I say that is that here, you see here, surprising, right? Very surprising. Swimming and cycling does not add weight to the bone, right? It may be healthy, cardiovascular health overall, but do not depend on swimming and cycling for adding the strength to your bones. Brisk walk adds about 1 to 2 times of the body weight to the bone. Running and jogging would add 3 times the body weight to the bones. Jumping and strength training under supervision only. Okay, so jumping and strength training under supervision, tailored for your own physical strength and needs and everything, would add 4 times more body weight. So the more and more number of times the body weight added to your bones, the bone density will be better. Okay, right. And then you want to load your bones with lots of good activity, right? So you're adding a lot of weight to the bone. It's good for you, but do not load inadvertently. Do not load in the wrong way. Load it safely. As I said, the reason why the hunch forward and any other posture other than straight spine is not good, because spine is most vulnerable when you're rounding forward. Okay, so when somebody's rounding forward, they have osteoporosis and they sneeze, the rounding forward puts their spine at a very risk, because as you see in the picture here, the spines are compressing on each other. In the rounding forward, some of the weaker spines are more vulnerable. In a sneeze or anything that happens, whatever that suddenly loads, that can just pop the bone. So I have treated and I have seen lots of patients, and I treated them, I took care of them. And majority of the people didn't even know that they have a spine fracture. They said, I just sneezed one day or coughed, and and then from a few hours after that, I I've been having back pain. What's going on with that? I'm like, get an MRI and X-ray. There's a fracture there. You know that you have fractures? I don't know. There are some fractures, old fractures in other spines too in the past. Did you feel? No, I didn't. But this fracture is much worse than that. That's why they are, coming to the hospital. So important, avoiding compression fracture. If you want to avoid compression fracture, make sure your spine is, put in a safer condition all the time. So when you are standing up from sitting posture, always bend at hips with a straight spine. Always bend at the hips with a straight spine. So very important. Spine is very important. For a good reason, it is called backbone, because that's the one that is supporting us. So supporting the spine bones also comes with great little things we can do. So to Pratima's point earlier, very important that we know what kind of exercises, what kind of posture training, what kind of strength training, what kind of core muscle training we can do in everyday life, so we can continue to live healthy. Practicing great posture. We talked about great posture, right? The great posture is when you're sitting with your back straight, with your bottom all the way back in the seat where you're sitting, and then your both feet on the ground flat. Anything other than that, like your legs crisscrossing and one leg on the chair in front of you, other leg on the ottoman or something, that's not going to work. That's just going to make your core muscles and core body skeleton in a vulnerable situation. Use great body mechanics, meaning how you sit, how you walk, and how you get up from the sitting posture. Expanding chest muscles, very important. Take a deep breath and expand the chest muscles, and because that is rounding up all the shoulders, and then adding a lot of great strength to the muscles. Strengthening back muscles is very important. Strengthening of abs, very important. And example, plank is really great. So how do you improve posture? Strengthening the back muscles improves the posture. A very simple exercise I can teach you here today is the standing W exercise. You raise arms parallel to the floor. Raise the arms parallel to the floor. Pull the arms backward, pinch shoulder blades, like pull them backwards. Raise them and pull them backwards. Hold for 3 seconds. Take a deep breath and hold from 3 seconds, like this. Let it go and do as often as you can. By doing that, by raising the arms parallel to the floor, pulling arms backward, pinch the shoulder blades, hold for 3 seconds and breathe, is gonna strengthen your core muscles. One second important exercise to improve the leg strength, reducing falls and fractures. It's called modified squat, right? Stand close to the chair. You stand close to the chair. Feet, hip distance apart. You keep your feet and your hips distance apart, not close together, at a little distance. Keep a straight back, hinge at hip, squat back and hold over the chair. Hold as long as you can, work up to 30 seconds. It's exactly how it is shown here. You do that. That's how you are reducing the falls and fractures, by improving your leg strength. Balance, and again, balancing the good balance to prevent falls is very important. Falls, speaking of falls here, preventing falls is preventing fractures, right? So stop multitasking. When you're walking, when you're walking at nighttime, or when you're walking just, in home, that text can wait until you sit there. So if you're looking at the text and replying, or doing something else and walking, and there's something that you didn't see and you fall, fracture. If somebody with osteopenia, meaning low bone density, already osteoporosis, with a fracture, bad news. They're going to have more fractures in the future. So you prevent that fracture so that you stop the chain of those fractures. And remove trip hazards. I just talked about it, like the floor mats, the placemats, the carpets that are just not aligned, and the things that you just don't need to be having in your home, especially if a senior person you're caring for in home, in their rooms or in the common areas where they use, absolutely remove any trip hazards, because it's okay to not to look super fancy your living room, but just make sure, you prevent those fractures. Get your eyes checked. People with vision problems may not see what's there, stopping them from walking forward, and they may just trip and fall, fracture. So important, get your eyes checked. Keeping a night light on. The most common times of people falling and having fractures are what? Early in the morning. Yeah, right. At nighttime, several times at nighttime, and they had to get up to go to bathroom. They don't see what's there and they fall and then fracture. So I've seen lots of people brought into the hospital with fractures of hip, fractures everywhere, fractures of shoulders, fractures of pelvis, and fractures of spine. And then I asked them, when did this happen? Last night. He was found on the floor. I went down to check on him at 5 a.m. and then he was on the floor, and I asked him what happened. I went to bathroom and I tripped and fell. I didn't see. So this is the common story of elderly brought to the hospital with fractures. So keep a night light on is very important. Keep a night light on, and get your medication checked. Some of the medications give giddiness, right? Some of the medications have interaction with each other. Some of the medications, even in the regular doses, can cause giddiness, dizziness, and problems with the balance, excessive sleepiness, and people may have falls. So important, polypharmacy. I mean, somebody has to pay attention to those medications. So pay attention to that. Again, 2 million people land in the emergency room from a fall. So the fractures due to falls are how many? 2 million. And 500,000 falls result in hospital stays. So somebody brought into the hospital with a spine fracture. Sometimes the spine fractures change their life, friends. They change their life because the fracture is so bad that, there are treatments available to some other fractures, such as kyphoplasty or vertebroplasty, meaning we inject, high density biological material into the spine. And then, the spine is like this, compression fracture. You inject the material and increase the height so that there is some restoration of the functionality, restoration of the height, and reduction of the pain and suffering and all that. In some scenarios, we cannot do anything about those fractures because they are so compressed and then they don't have really kind of solid bone that is there. So there's not a lot we could do. Then what happens? Their posture changes and the alignment of the spine changes. They are in pain. If people life change after fractures. So that's why very important that we learn more about it and spread the word. So if somebody is at high risk for fractures or already have osteoporosis, they may benefit from treatment. So it's really important to determine the risk of that person, discuss the options, treatment options, and decide what's the best for them. Some of the scope, this is not the scope of the discussion today, but just be on the lookout for medications your doctor may recommend. Bisphosphonates, one of the most common medications for osteoporosis, alendronate, right? Actonel, Atelia, Boniva, Fosamax, Reclass, Zometa. So these are the most common bisphosphonates medications that are prescribed for the osteoporosis. So if somebody says, if you vaguely remember, oh yeah, my doctor told me last year that he's going to put me on Fosamax for thing, and I wasn't sure. Somebody scared me about the side effects, and I said no. Just go back and revisit that discussion, and just make sure you're on the medication if you need it. And there are some other medications like Evista available. There are some other new medications available for the osteoporosis. So knowing your risk for the fracture can help you decide if you benefit from the treatment or not. So take home, important things to remember: get calcium, vitamin D daily. Food is the best source of calcium for sure, vitamin D to some extent, supplement if needed. Don't think that, in summer is coming, I'm going to walk and walk. If you need to walk so much in the sun to get enough vitamin D, guys, we'll have a different problem. We'll have sunburns, and I'll have to treat you for dehydration rather than vitamin D deficiency. So you'll be burned badly if you walk so much in sun to get all the vitamin D, because you cannot get enough vitamin D from sunshine alone. People who are working in the sunshine every day, like people from my good old days of my life in India, in the village, where people go and work in the fields every day, and the cornfield, rice fields, and all that. They get the vitamin D because they are in sun all day. And but we can't afford to burn ourselves for the vitamin D. So supplements are important. And check the calcium levels and vitamin D levels in the body. If you are somebody who is at high risk of having low calcium vitamin D levels in the body because of many reasons we talked about, very important that you ask your physician to run the blood test and make sure they detect if you have any low calcium, low vitamin D, so you can take supplements. So do weight bearing and balance exercise every day. We talked about a few. There are many people. There are many yoga and many other alternatives to strenuous exercises available that will strengthen your balance and strengthen your core muscles, especially spine and trunk muscles. Know your risk for fractures and get screened and diagnosed. Know your T-scores and keep a copy of all your bone density tests. Very important. So if you are somebody who is at high risk of osteopenia or osteoporosis, if you need a bone density scan, DEXA scan, get it done. Again, insurance companies should cover that. They all cover that. Get it done, and get it done. And then keep a copy of that. And I want you to take a picture of your bone density scan and save it in your phone and keep looking at it and say, yeah, every time you go back to the doctor and say, well, I think it's time for me to get my repeat T-test, DEXA scan, because I want to compare my T-scores and see if I'm getting better or not. So take home message, whoever who is watching today, listening to me today, or who's going to watch or read going forward this presentation, please, 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 if you are someone who needs a DEXA scan, get it. You already had it, get me the copy. And you are supposed to have a repeat scan because you've done so well with all these things and your score may be higher. Go for the repeat scan. So I want you guys to prevent this osteoporotic fractures because they're simply preventable, friends. They're simply preventable. And again, I thank Pratima for this opportunity, VFS for this opportunity, Pratima, Rama, they're like my family. So every time they ask me to, kind of come and talk to the people, I'm ready. You have all my time available in the world to talk about any other topic. So thank you guys for what you do. It's godly, it's noble. Keep doing what you're doing. And I thank our founder and the CEO, Pooja Aika, who is passionate about educating the elderly, educating people, educating them about their health. I thank my team here, Suraj and Narayan Sharma, who have been strengthening our relationship with organizations like VFS and really making sure as a health insurance company, we have access to opportunities of educating people. So I'm here for any questions in the next 10 minutes.
I have a question on my end, Dr. Chandra. Most of the people, the seniors, right? They are sometimes confused, like what specialists should they see if they have osteoporosis?
Primary care.
Related to the primary care. Okay.
Primary.
They don't have to, any particular specialist is not there, but the primary care can do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Primary care. If primary care doctor says your osteoporosis is due to some complicated hormonal conditions like thyroid and hyperthyroid and those kind of things, and I recommend you see an endocrinology. Yeah, sure, they can see endocrinology. Endocrinologists are very helpful. Apart from that, primary care is a good place to go.
There was one question somebody has asked me long before about, like, am I taking the proper medicines, that cause? And I think that was covered in your presentation today, because there are medicines that do cause bone loss, right? Yeah. That will be there. Also about what can one recommend about they're getting a bone density test, and that's again, you told about DEXA, right? So they need to get that part done too. Mm-hmm. I think you covered majority part in this presentation, because whatever was in my mind and what someone had asked me, like, about the steps they had to take to prevent falls, that was covered. And then you talked about the medications and what is the risk, what puts them at risk for osteoporosis. And then I think there was also one, I think they have osteoporosis, what treatment options are there? Yeah. There are many.
If they have osteoporosis, yeah, if they have osteoporosis, there are lots of, as I said, lots of treatments available. And again, if they have osteoporosis, if somebody has osteopenia, meaning the density is lower than normal, but not low enough to call osteoporosis, there are high chances that they can flip back to normal if they're done well, meaning again, the same core strengthening muscles, exercises, loading those bones and getting the bone health back to normal, supplements, or watching what they eat and just making sure they have this 1,000 to 200 milligrams of vitamin D every day, 600 to 2,000 IU of vitamin D, or calcium and vitamin D. Very important that these the intake of the nutrients is watched, because osteoporosis is a simple disease, not complicated, but it can complicate somebody's life, right? It's so simple that vitamin D, calcium, make your bones stronger, keep doing what you're doing, and prevent yourself from falling, period. Osteoporosis does not even come and knock on your door. Right. But if it knocks on somebody's door time to time, again, as I said, it's a bad news. And I have seen people who are totally debilitated because of spine fractures, hip fractures, pelvic fractures, because pelvic fracture is not a good news at all. Pelvic fractures, we cannot fix them. There's no surgery. There are very few surgical procedures that fix the pelvic fractures. I had to put them, I had to immobilize them for 8 to 12 weeks and let the bone heal and stuff. And they're in nursing home. Guys, I'm telling you, that's not good news at all. So I spoke to several other groups of seniors on osteoporosis recently. Surprisingly, here in Mass, the awareness is decent, much better than what I expected. And I want VFS seniors and beneficiaries of VFS senior services really need to make sure. Tell me, do you qualify for DEXA scan? If yes, go and get it. What is stopping you? And two, get that DEXA scan report in front of you, and then take a look at it and see what it tells you and do it. And then if it is a time for repeat, get a DEXA scan repeat. Your T-score is important.
But Dr. Chandra, I have a quick question here coming to the DEXA scan. Is it that it has to be like certain 65 and above, or people who are not yet 50 or would love to get their DEXA scan, they can get it done?
No. I mean, if somebody is at high risk of osteoporosis, doctor can say, well, this person is on steroid for asthma, whatever it is, this person is on chemo, high risk, I want a DEXA scan. That's it, no questions asked. Insurance companies will do it. If it is normal, then they will monitor every few years or so. But people typically 65 plus in women and 70 plus in men is the time and age. But what puts them at high risk of osteoporosis? Everything, like their risk factors, like they're men and they have a history of osteoporosis in the family, they had fractures in the past, they are smokers, and they are for some reason they have these bone fractures and stuff, then it's a time to get it.
So even with the women who are less than 50, some of them are getting into the menopause stage. Mm-hmm. So in that stage too, can they get it done, right? They
can get it done. Yes, yes. So good point. Menopause, premature menopause and early menopause because of hysterectomy or something, absolutely. The moment the uterus is removed, the moment the protection of the hormones of women is removed, they're at high risk of conditions in the postmenopausal, same thing. So that's why, yeah, good question. And one other important thing is that whether we are preparing ourselves to get a test done and screen if we have osteoporosis risk or not, immaterial. Taking adequate amount of vitamin D and calcium is a must. Mm-hmm. Whether you're 25-year-old, 30-year-old, 35, 40, it doesn't matter, because as I said, your bone density is at the peak when you are 30 years old. After that, it is coming down, whether you like it or not. So that's why I watch out that vitamin D and calcium intake and continue to develop, posture that will prevent fracture. Those good things are important.
Yeah. Looks like no one has any questions, but I think from your presentation, I can just say that with the right support, seniors can manage their osteoporosis and maintain a good quality of life. Seniors can prevent weakened bones by eating, as Dr. Chandra explained, about eating foods that support bone health. Great examples where I could see now, when you show the presentation was, of course, low-fat dairy, vegetables, and grains. Even weight-bearing exercises like dancing, walking, and hiking, those can definitely strengthen the bones. Additionally, as Dr. Chandra was trying to assert there, the seniors should limit alcohol consumption and quit smoking if they do lower the risk of, they want to lower the risk, or also do to lower risk of weakened bones. I think this is something for everyone, is that we should not let osteoporosis hold you or your loved one back. Primary care providers, they are the great starting point for discussing and managing osteoporosis. if the diagnosis is more complicated, or if someone has tried medications and still needs help, the person should consider asking for a referral. Am I right, Dr. Chandra? Like to a rheumatologist or an endocrinologist who are specially trained to diagnose and treat osteoporosis. So this is like a very wonderful discussion, a very wonderful topic to talk about. And Dr. Chandra, we want to have more such topics in the future, which is very much needed for our seniors, because most of them, as we know, and I have seen working with them and talking with them, they don't come out till we show them and say, this is the issue and we can work on this. And that's the wonderful thing that I really thank Eternal Health for coming out and having wonderful discussions and helping us to bring about these type of webinars and helping us to teach and educate our seniors. So again, quickly, just ending about these things is that VFS, our goal, as even Dr. Chandra mentioned, is we are trying here to connect our resources like this, that promote aging with independence and making sure that increases community awareness of aging issues and also bringing about or generating community-based solutions to those issues. We are expanding community organization and we are very happy to have wonderful dedicated volunteers with us. Right now, I just want to say everyone who are there, who are going to eventually watch this, we would love that, give your feedback. And we are very keen, again, we and myself, also Dr. Chandra, to hear how you find these sessions, how do you find, and also when you watch us through YouTube channel or for VFS YouTube channel too, please put on your feedbacks in a comment box. That will be useful for us to maybe get much more such informative sessions on board. So again, thank you, Dr. Chandra, to give your valuable time today and bring about all this wonderful information for our seniors.
Our pleasure. Thank you.